rounds of that series held at Mugello just a couple of weekends ago. On pole position in the Audi, Frank Biela, man who's taken in a few Italian touring car races this year in support of Emanuele Pirro particularly. Well, Pirro has already taken the title as we get the first of the races underway. Damp conditions, and it's Ravaglia who storms into the lead but then goes straight off at the first corner, as seen on board Rinaldo Capello in one of the other Audis. Well, these damp conditions have certainly caught out some of the teams in terms of their setup, but most particularly with Audi. Fabrizio Giovanardi being attacked by Emanuele Pirro, but Pirro is struggling because he is on slick tyres, and the conditions are certainly not suiting the slick racing tyres in these very wet track conditions. Giovanardi running a bit wide onto the grass there, and in fact both Frank Biela and Emanuele Pirro are on slicks, and they're both beginning to struggle already. Rinaldo Capello in the third of the Audis, well, he's on intermediates, so he's not struggling quite so much, and meanwhile some of the back markers finding conditions all too difficult. On board with Rinaldo Capelli now as he chases after the race leader Frank Biela, but remember, Capello is on far better tyres than his teammate Frank Biela, and Capello goes into the lead in the Audi. Let's take a look again at what happened to Ravaglia. Well, he just it all got away from him into that first corner, and even though he'd taken the lead in the BMW, he soon threw it all away. Now the battle on for the lead is between Capello and Naspetti as Antonio Tamburini makes a little bit of progress up through the field. Let's go aboard with Stefano Modena as he's starting to attack Frank Biela. Modena on wet racing tyres in his Alfa Romeo, and it looks as though he's going to be able to go through here. Yes, Modena goes through and takes that place away from Frank Biela. And Modena, who's taken 3 victories this year in the Italian Touring Car Series, comes up into third position. Tamburini also getting past Biela, and Biela really now beginning to suffer from being on those slick tyres. On board with Capello as he runs wide onto the grass, has to back off, loses time there. And that certainly, well, in fact, yes, Emanuele Naspetti goes through in the sister car to that of Roberto Ravaglia. The CBM Racing BMW 318 goes into the lead from Rinaldo Capello in second place, and then Stefano Modena in third position. Oh, he's under attack from Tamburini. Tamburini hits the Alfa Romeo of Modena, and the marshals, who are still tending to the car of Ravaglia, running out of the way. There we see it on board with Stefano Modena. Well, that's disaster for Alfa Romeo because they were still battling for the Manufacturers' Championship. And Tamburini has now just effectively ended their hopes of taking the Manufacturers' title in Italy. Disaster for them, and Tamburini will not be in Alfa Romeo's good books after that particular incident. Well, Rinaldo Capello still in second place, chasing the spray being thrown up by Emanuele Naspetti, but Naspetti, with the yellow flag still at that first corner, is enjoying the lead here in this last but one race in the Italian Touring Car Series. Fabrizio Giovanardi has come up into third place in the Peugeot, and he's now chasing after Capello. Rinaldo Capello putting in an excellent performance, as he has done for the Audi team this year, and bearing in mind the fact that he's on more suitable tyres in this race than his more experienced teammates, nevertheless he's putting in an excellent performance. A man who was perhaps a surprise choice for the Audi team after racing in a Volkswagen Vento in last year's Italian Touring Car Series, has nevertheless put in some excellent performances this year. He's coming under pressure from this man, Fabrizio Giovanardi. Giovanardi dives down the inside as Capello tries to use the wider line to find a bit more traction, but he loses the place, and the Peugeot of Giovanardi dives through into the lead. Good view of the dashboard of Capello with the little gear indicator there, indicating we're in second gear at the moment as we accelerate up onto the next straight. Up into third as he heads off in pursuit of Fabrizio Giovanardi for that second place still. The battle continues between these two. Remember, the Audi with four-wheel drive, more suited to these conditions. But for Antonio Tamburini, he has a lot of explaining to do to his Alfa Romeo team as to just what happened between him and Stefano Modena. Meanwhile, Emanuele Pirro is getting himself involved in a little bit of a battle further back. Pirro, remember, still on those slick racing tyres, and that means he's getting into some battle with some of the privateer Alfa Romeos, which certainly we wouldn't have expected the man who's taken the Italian Touring Car Championship this year to be so far down the field. Well, Pirro certainly making hard work of getting a reasonable result here at Mugello. But nevertheless, the title already his this year, and that's the important thing as far as he's concerned. It looks good for Audi as well, with Capello still up in the top 3 in terms of the Manufacturers' Championship, but the battle now for the lead beginning to develop a little bit. Evidence of damage to Giovanardi's car from earlier on, and he is now quite a lot closer to Emanuele Naspetti. Naspetti, the former Formula 1 driver for the March team and also for the Jordan Grand Prix team as well. He's been racing all year in the Italian Touring Car Series, and it looks as though Naspetti is going to be able to take his first victory in touring cars. Indeed he does. Naspetti takes the win ahead of Fabrizio Giovanardi in second place, Ronaldo Capello in third, Johnny Cecotto took fourth, Marco Brand in fifth, and Alex Bergstaller in sixth place. So we get ready for the second race, and just look how the conditions have really deteriorated now. Absolutely awful conditions for this last round of the Italian Touring Car Series. Right at the back of the grid there is Gary Ailes. Gary, who crashed his Peugeot in qualifying, was unable to make the start of the first race, but has been able to take over the T-car for this second race. And, well, he's certainly going to be struggling from the back of the grid. A lot of work to do in conditions that he described as some of the worst that he's driven in, including some of the racing he's done in Britain as well. So an awful lot of work to do from the back of the grid as the field gets away once again, and Naspetti leading from Giovanardi in second place with Capello in third place. But the Audis have now all got wet tyres fitted, you won't be surprised to hear, and that certainly should suit them in these conditions. Emanuele Pirro already making up progress and starting to make his presence felt. But up front, Naspetti still trying to defend that lead and see if he can take a second win. Capello moves up into second place ahead of Fabrizio Giovanardi. Naspetti definitely coming under pressure now from Ronaldo Capello. And in fact, Naspetti going a little bit wide there. That could have cost him a little bit of time. And Capello looks all set to take advantage of that. In fact, he's got the line alongside the BMW now. Now, can he go all the way around the outside? There could be a little bit more grip on the outside. Yes, there is indeed. Capello goes through past Naspetti. A nice piece of overtaking from Ronaldo Capello. He takes the lead from Naspetti, and who now comes under pressure from Fabrizio Giovanardi in the Peugeot. Giovanardi, who is switching to Alfa Romeo for 1995, but nevertheless determined to get a good result here for Peugeot in the final race of the championship, goes into second place, and Naspetti is demoted to third place. Pirro is now up a position as well, and he's challenging. In fact, he goes up into third place now. He goes past Naspetti, and in fact, Biela there is challenging for fourth place. So the two other Audis who were really struggling in that first race are now really up with the front runners. Marco Brand is off and out of the race, and meanwhile, Giovanardi is now coming under some pressure from Emanuele Pirro for second place. Ronaldo Capello, remember, is leading in the first of the Audis, and it looks as though Pirro is going to be able to come up into second place. In fact, he does, and in fact, Frank Biela comes up into third position now. So the Audis are running 1, 2, 3, and that's really what we would expect to see, I suppose, from the four-wheel drive cars. Meanwhile, Naspetti coming under a fair bit of pressure. Two BMWs running together, Naspetti and Alex Bergstaller, but off onto the grass and through into the gravel trap goes Felipe Tedeschi, and out of the race. So with Biela there, now up into third position ahead of Giovanardi. The Audi four-wheel drive system really has proved its worth in these appalling conditions that surely in many cases would have seen the race abandoned several laps ago. Naspetti still clinging on to his position ahead of Alex Bergstaller in the other of the BMWs. And meanwhile, not far behind them, the lady racer, Tamara Vidali, in the number 5 Alfa Romeo. Up front, though, Ronaldo Capello continues to lead the race, and it looks as though it's going to be an Audi domination of this one, as more problems for some of the back markers see cars strewn all over the road. And in fact, another incident causing the red flag to come out. The number 51 car of Moreno Soli has gone off, and the red flag is displayed. And although 5 laps were remaining, the final result is declared, with Capello taking the race victory from Emanuele Pirro in second place and Frank Biela in third. The season is finished with an Audi 1, 2, 3.